Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. October 26th, 2017.
Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore.
I know you're all smiling because you know where my head's going already, but play a little Dino. Go ahead.
Seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore.
Dino.
Bells will ring.
So watch how this works. Watch how this works. Sex is in the air. This is the most sex-crazed society the world has ever seen. There has never been a more sex-crazed society on Earth, so far as I can tell. Being a historian, I've never seen anything like this. I think even Rome, when it fell, was not as disgustingly degenerate as America is today. But, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll is an old story. We know that Hollywood was built on sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But there's one other element that Hollywood was built on, which is violence. I mean, without violence, there would be no Hollywood. And without us as the audience for this violence and the sex, there would be nothing. You see, we all love mob stories. And frankly, it's hard to admit it, but America is fascinated with gangsters. Whether it was Marlon Brando in The Godfather or James Gandolfini in The Sopranos as Tony Soprano, or it was Al Pacino playing a mobster, or it was the other fellow whose name I really do forget for the moment. I'm blocking it out right now. You know, the one who's always wanting to punch Bush in the face. I don't know his name. I forgot it. I used to like him as an actor. But we all loved him. I know, I was kidding. The other guy. But the thing is that universally true that people somehow are attracted to movies about gangsters. And the question is why? And it's not about the money, it's about the freedoms that we see gangsters enjoying. They seem much freer than the average man. And they also seem to get vengeance more readily than the average man. We are all constrained in our vengeance. We all know if we lift a finger against anyone, the law comes down on us like a ton of bricks. And yet there are times that we wish to God we knew a Godfather. You don't even have to call me and tell me it's true because I know it's true. How many times have you been wronged in your life by a lawyer in a court case that you know was rigged against you, your house stolen from you, your pride stolen from you, your children stolen from you? How many times did you wish that you knew someone like the Marlon Brando Godfather character who you can go to and say, Don, do this, Don, do that? So that's why we're fascinated by mob stories and mobsters. That's where I want to go for a moment, but that's not where I'm going entirely. I was going to do a little bit more about it. You're not going to hear one thing about the dossier today. That's people who basically have no education, who like using a French word to sound intellectual. So they say the word dossier as many times as possible in a 3-hour show. And then you think that they're bilingual. Dossier, 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 dossier. Dozy-do, dossier. Forget about it. That story's got no legs for a number of reasons, one of which is no one can say dossier west of the Hudson River. But, you know, so I was going to do that today, which is why is America fascinated with gangsters. Then I was going to tell you that plague is back. Its locus right now is Madagascar, and as a result of open borders, boys and girls, infected people from Madagascar are spreading pneumonic plague in Africa. Now, if you remember the Black Plague, and that's not a term about race, it's a term about disease. If you read history, it wiped out a good portion of the Earth's population. It could happen again. God is mad. God is very mad. He tries different diseases every few decades to see if he can cull the herd. This is back. plague is back. And with the liberal open border policy, he just might win this time. So, you can expect some plague in your neighborhood in the very near future as a result of the open borders. I was going to talk about that. And then I was going to talk about lawyer horror stories, because I read a terrible story about a lawyer, Kansas City attorney, shot dead on his porch as a man he recently defeated in court is tied to the case. I said, what? You see, they saw a white Chevrolet outside the lawyer's house after he was shot, and it was registered to a man named David Jungerman, who had recently lost a lawsuit to this lawyer. Jungerman is 79 years old, and he's not yet been named as a suspect. However, here's something you should know. The slain lawyer worked at the Fowler Pickett Eisenmenger law firm in Kansas, and they represented one of the two homeless men that this old homeowner, Jungerman, shot on his property in 2012. So in other words, this guy Jungerman comes out with a gun. Homeless guys are on his lawn. He's threatened by them. He shoots them. They're stealing copper from his property. They set off his alarm. The old man runs out, shoots them with an AK-47, and one of the homeless bum's legs are amputated because of the shooting. So the bum gets a law firm and sues the homeowner, winning $5.75 million against the old man. And what happened was, this last Tuesday, a Jackson County, Missouri court served the old man an order that all of his real estate be seized to start paying off the debt to the bum and to his lawyer. So the lawyer, the innocent lawyer, Pickett, was sitting on his porch about 8 a.m. Monday morning, having just dropped off his two sons at their nearby school, cops told the Kansas City Star. And his wife, a doctor, heard a noise, ran outside, and found the lawyer shot. And that's the story of a Kansas City attorney shot dead on his porch as a man he recently defeated in court is tied to the case. Again, it ties in a little bit to why is America fascinated with gangsters. So I was going to do that, but then something else popped up. I linked to a story about a pay-for-sex dating site in Paris that is being banned. And I said, oh boy, this ties it all together. You talk about criminality, you talk about sexuality, you talk about exploitation, you talk about self-exploitation. You see, French students with overdue tuition bills were going in droves to a sugar daddy sex site. And an advertisement, a billboard, went up near Paris Sorbonne and the Paris Descartes University promoting Rich Meet Beautiful, which connects young adults with wealthy men and women willing to trade intimacy for cash. And according to the ad, it says they promise romance, passion, and no student loans. Well, the ad, of course, instantly sparked a debate among students and officials who argued that the Rich Meet Beautiful service amounts to pimping. So they're trying to ban the billboard and the service, so to speak. So it led me to look into this a little bit, because I realized that the pay-for-sex dating site in Paris that's causing such a stir is nothing compared to what's going on in America, because similar services are extremely popular here in America. There are about 3.2 million sugar daddy mommy babies, according to SeekingArrangement.com, here in America. And if you don't know what that is, it's students who want to pay off their tuition by selling their bodies, in essence. And I looked into this. I was stunned to find out which universities top the list of students who sell themselves basically as prostitutes. And I'm going to tell you about that in a few minutes, and I don't have a reason to explain it to you. I mean, you'll figure it out for yourself. But apparently this is a huge business. Now, while the pay-for-sex dating site in Paris caused outrage, here in America, Sugar Baby University still exists. So I then said, wait a minute, this story combines everything: sex, gangsterism, sin, a mental plague. And I said I was going to ask my audience the following question, which is this. And it's a very daring question, I admit, and I'm not sure I'm going to get any callers at all. I may go to anything except the dossier story. I'll leave that for those who love to say the word over and over again to sound sophisticated. I'm asking a simple question on the show today, the Savage Nation. Are you a sugar baby? Are you a sugar baby? Are you earning your money as a student, selling yourself to rich old men or women? And are you victimizing yourself, happily doing so? Nearly 1.2 million students are looking for a way to get out from underneath the crushing weight of student loan debt. And apparently there's an awful lot of people engaging in this kind of thing. If you think it's small, the United States has the largest combined number of sugar daddy and mommy relationships, with 3.2 million people as of July 2016. Almost 500,000 daddies, 42,000 mommies, 466,000 sugar baby males. What? 2.2 million sugar baby females. These are selling their bodies, in other words. So it's a phenomenon. It's a social phenomenon. This is talk radio. This is not a boring college class in history or in something like that. It's a show. And that's it. Now, if you want me to get into the other subjects, I can do that. Like, why is America fascinated with gangsters? Do you believe in sin? See, it ties into my sin story. What is the worst sin you've ever committed? Or, if you'd rather get very prosaic, we could talk about where has the Las Vegas shooting story gone? Why is there no update? And why would the Vegas security guard Jesus Campos have fled to Mexico for a whole week? How could he have even done that with such a bad leg wound? That story stinks to high heaven. Or, if that doesn't attract your attention, old George Bush, 90-some-odd years old, confined to a wheelchair, has now been accused of sexual assault. This was the topper for me. I guess soon they will be accusing corpses of having committed such offenses. The very same sluts of Hollywood who would gladly perform any sex act with any animal in the streets of Hollywood to be seen by a photographer so they can make it to page 6 in the New York Post, and now screaming, "Oh, he looked at me and I know he wanted to touch me." And that old George Bush, "I love Obama, but I hate that old man because I was once near him," said an actress, "and even though he was in a wheelchair, his arm touched my buttocks. I'm just so hurt by it. I had to call Gloria, and Gloria's oh so busy these days she couldn't take my case." So we can go from the ridiculous to the sublime and then back again. I can talk about everything from the plague to sin to the sugar thing, lawyer horror stories, and all the news, views, and reviews that you've come to expect right here on the home of God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Tell me, who wrote the book of love?
So we're doing melodrama today on the Savage Nation, a little socio-economic melodrama. And whether or not you're shocked by the question or interested in it, it's still what I want to do, because otherwise I'll bore you to death by talking about the dossier. Dossier! Go get Clinton! Dossier! Go get him on the dossier! When I listen to radio that talks about the dossier, I get nauseous for a couple of reasons, because, I mean, what is talk radio? What do we call petty Communist Party operatives? See, the communists are into that, which is always tattling on each other. They did this, they did this, they did this. It's like the Bolsheviks versus the socialists versus the communists versus the Mensheviks versus the Schmendriks. It's like living in the Soviet Union after the Tsar was knocked over, where all these splinter groups of left-wing parties emerged, fighting with each other for power. After the Tsar was gone, all of a sudden you say, oh, there was a Bolshevik revolution. What you don't know is numerous left-wing parties took over the country, and there was no order in Russia. And they started fighting, killing each other for power. This is exactly what's going on in the country today without the overt killing that's going on here. I was going to talk about that while the Tsar had power and no laws, the communists had laws and no power. Yeah, I just said that right. While the Tsar had power and no laws, he was a dictator. The communists had laws and no power because they had no power. I was going to talk about that today, but I don't want to talk about that today, even though I just talked about that today. Because if I start talking about dossier, Hillary did this, the FBI did that, dossier, go get him. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to when you say dossier, go get him? Who are you talking to? Who are you appealing to? The average listener can't do anything about dossier this, dossier that. What do you want from the average guy who listens to radio? There are over 70 radio stations in almost every major city in America, plus the internet, plus streaming shows from around the world, and you want them to get involved with what, writing a letter, sitting down with a quill and ink, and write a letter to your congressman? It's not 1994. Sugar radio is over. The days of the sugar days are over for radio. George W. Bush. Now we're getting the nuts coming out of that. All I said was George Bush in a wheelchair is now being accused of harassment. Because the guy's partially paralyzed, you see, from a stroke. So when he lifts his arm to meet a stranger, the arm can only go up to about the level of the waist of the stranger. And it accidentally brushed a girl's buttocks. She already claims he raped her or molested her. Oh, my, I was so offended. I had to call Gloria, but she's so busy these days you can hardly reach her. Well, you know, it's only a matter of time until everybody you know is J'accuse. This is what went on in the French Revolution. All you had to do was say, J'accuse, and they cut your head off. You didn't have to have any proof. So I don't want those on the so-called conservative side, the patriots who love America oh so much, to suddenly become J'accuse, because then they're no different than the other guys, right? And you can sit there accusing when you don't even know the facts. You read it in an article, you read it on the Drudge Report, linked to somewhere else, and whether it's true or not, you don't know one way or the other, but already you're accusing and recusing. And you want someone to step in and drop the guillotine on them, right? So you're no different than they are. That's what's getting me sick about the whole business that I'm in. The older I get and the closer I get to the reality of what I'm actually working in and who pretends to be the patriots and who is allegedly the enemies of our way of life, the more I recognize that it's all hogwash. Both sides say that they're patriots. Both sides are power mad. Both sides are lying. And the fact of the matter is I'd rather talk about sugar babies than talk about that garbage, the dossier.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
She's a guillotine. Execution scene now.
Why is America fascinated with gangsters? Do you believe in sin? What is the worst sin you've committed? Are you a sugar baby? And why are you victimizing yourself? Now, there are other questions I can ask, and I will. I'm not going to do this for 3 hours. I'll do other stuff, but I'm really interested in this whole question right now, and I want to take some calls on it. Kevin on WABC in New York, what's your topic, please?
Good afternoon, Mr. Savage. Big fan. Listen to you every day. I don't see a problem with, a young girl in college trying to make it in his life and some old guy that's paying her for 5 minutes of work. What's wrong with that? She's trying to make it in life. There's nothing wrong with that. She's trying to.
Well, I can't sit in judgment, but I can ask you a question. Obviously, you're a young guy, right? Kevin, how old are you?
I'm 23, Michael.
Let's say you're 35 and you have 2 children, one of which is a daughter. Would you want your daughter to be a sugar baby prostitute?
Absolutely not. But I don't classify that as prostitution.
Well, hold on now. You mean someone else's daughter can sell herself, but not your daughter? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, Michael.
Well, wait, why should someone else's daughter do it and you see nothing wrong with it, Kevin?
Yeah, but college is so expensive nowadays.
30 words, come on. But, okay, it leads to another question, and it's a very sensitive issue. Kevin, are you still there?
I'm here, Michael.
Do you go to college yourself?
No, I went to trade school. I'm an electrician now.
So, look, we're talking about girls who sell themselves on a site where an older guy pays them for their services, okay? And allegedly the girls are doing it for their tuition. We don't know if that's the issue. So you're saying prostitution should be legalized if it's consensual, in essence, aren't you saying that?
I believe, yeah, absolutely.
In the world in which you live amongst blue-collar guys, electricians, is it easy for you to go out and meet girls in bars?
It's very easy.
And I'm asking leading questions, and it's not like a trial. I'm not trying to nail you.
No.
Would you say that today, with the lack of morality, the girls are giving it away for nothing?
They're giving it away easier because of all the social media and all the internet things, too.
Well, so you're saying from your point of view of a guy in his early 20s, what's the big deal? The girls are giving it away for nothing. Why shouldn't they sell it? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan, though, Michael. You truly are. You're a great man, and you truly are.
I'm not a great man. I'm just an older guy who's been around, who has some viewpoints that make sense. If that's greatness, well, thank you for the compliment. Kevin, you don't sound like a guy who wants to read God, Faith, and Reason, not if you're going to be working with electricity all day long and then going out to a bar looking for girls.
No, I have no interest in the book, Michael. I just like your show.
Oh, I love you.
All right.
I want to ask you something. Did you ever go, when you were a boy, your name is Kevin, are you Irish?
No, I'm Italian.
Did you ever go to church with your grandmother?
I didn't hear you, Michael.
Did you ever go to church with your grandmother when you were a little kid?
I'll go to church usually on Christmas, things like that.
No, when you were a kid, you only went on Christmas?
Yeah.
And you didn't believe in any of it, right?
I don't really want to answer that on the radio, Michael.
Why? Because you have family that listens to the show?
Well, yeah, but it's none of the people who are listening. It's none of their business by doing that.
No, I'm not trying to embarrass you. So you got a large group of people who listen to the Savage Nation, and they will recognize your voice, and you don't want to say anything about your faithlessness.
No,
I'll tell you what, Kevin, I'm going to send you a copy of God, Faith, and Reason anyway to give it to someone in your family who might appreciate it. Give it to them for Christmas. How's that?
Thank you, Michael.
There you go. So you got a stocking stuffer already. I hope it's a thick stocking that doesn't break very easily. That's going to be very interesting if the atheists and the cynics care about a book about like this. What they don't understand is it's not a book selling God, and I can't get into it yet. You're going to be shocked by what oh, God, don't get me into this book right now, because there's a controversy that's going to emerge that they may run me off radio. They may tar and feather me if I tell you what I'm going to say at that time, and I'm saving it for the November period. You'll read all about it. Okay, let's leave it at that. Okay, so stay in the line, Kevin. Clint's taking down your number. He's got a pencil and a pad ready, Clint, because he was hoping some of the women would come and confess as sugar babies, and he had the pencil ready. But so far, there's not been one sugar baby who's called. But let's go to the two topics as they play together. The mob, gangsters, America's fascination with Tony Soprano, Godfather, whatever. All the characters, the Al Pacino gangsters. America is fascinated with mobsters for a good reason. And the good reason is that we're all powerless, and the law, unfortunately, doesn't often work for us. We feel that we get screwed in a court of law, and we lose even if we're right. And usually the bad guys win. Not always, but usually. If they have more money, they're gonna bury you. And then we get infuriated, and we want to get even. And so we go to these movies which fantasize some divine, fair-minded gangster who doesn't deal drugs, he kisses babies, he's a nice guy, he's family-oriented. They eat loads of veal parmesan on Sunday with the grandchildren. He goes to church. He supports the church. You know, the fantasy that doesn't exist. So we go to the fantasy created by the Harvey Weinsteins about gangsters. When you think about who produces these movies, everything's a fraud. Virtually everything we see in the movies is fake, which doesn't mean we don't enjoy them. They're called entertainment for that reason. The problem is that when they start philosophizing and you believe them, then you're really in trouble, then you're really screwed up. In other words, if you believe that there's such a gangster in the world, okay, you're living in fantasy. So if you actually believe that, you're living in fantasy. So where does that leave us? It leaves us in the everyday world. That's all. Oh, here we got okay, this is good coming now. What I'm going to lead to now is to the politicians, who are not different than gangsters in many ways, other than the politicians generally don't use muscle that I know of to get their way. But they're just as corrupt as most politicians. Most politicians are just as corrupt as mobsters. We all know that for a fact. And some of them are smoother at it than others. And as I said yesterday, and I will say it again, I don't think it's that controversial a statement, but it's worth repeating for the sake of today's discussion on the program, that while a criminal has a gang of soldiers, a nation's leader has an army of soldiers. Now tell me what the difference is. If you don't have to point it at Trump, because it doesn't just apply to Trump, it applies to any president we've ever had, whether it is a fair-minded Middle Westerner like Harry Truman, who dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan, killing hundreds of thousands, right? Okay, you could say that's a pretty big gang, the U.S. Air Force. You want to go into that viewpoint, you can. Now you got the situation of what we're talking about here. So you see what I'm getting at here. Where does it end? Tell me where that line is between a statesman and a criminal. I don't know where that line really is. And I think as America gets more and more as we devolve more and more with the lying media that makes everything up. I mean, Trump called it fake news. He was 1,000% right. However, where is the real news? If everything on the left is fake news, where is the real news? Tell me what the real news is. You mean those of us on the other side are all real? We're all honest? We're all Boy Scouts? We all have a halo? We're all good? That is such garbage, you have no idea. And let me tell you something else. You're not going to like what's coming in 2018. But when you find out what we are digging into about those on the right side of the aisle who pretend to be holier than the cleanest Eagle Scout, but they're just like gangsters, your hair will stand up, and your whole world will spin on its head. I'm only going to hint at what I'm talking about. But as I speak, you're going to find out about, quote, conservative cartels in the media. You're going to find about conservative property owners who pretend that they're not property owners, who are collecting government money in housing while pretending they're anti-government. You're not going to believe what private investigators are about to that will expose in 2018. You're not going to believe it. And when that happens, you're going to have to rely upon something other than your faith in politics or your faith in being a, quote, conservative. What is a conservative? It's people who say that they're holier than thou. Are they really holier than thou when they run a cartel that blocks other people from an industry? Are they holier than thou when they lie to you about their streams of income and you can't even find it because it's in 5 front companies like Al Capone? Well, stay tuned, because in the next few months you just might find out. And that's why I'm saying the lines that cross between criminality, politics, media are very, very blurry today. And that's why even electricians and cab drivers in New York City are religiously addicted to the savage nation. Because today's topic is interesting to me, I think it will be interesting to you. And I think that the callers will talk about paying for sex dating and things of that nature. I've not yet got a lawyer horror story. That was a horrible story about the lawyer who was shot in Kansas City just the other day. But let me ask you something. What if you were 78 years old and you owned a house, and some homeless bums were on your property? They came at night to steal copper off your property. You're a poor man. You own the house. Your alarm goes off. You run outside with a rifle, and you shoot them, the homeless thieves. And one of the homeless bums' legs have to be amputated because of the shooting. And then the bum goes and gets a law firm, and the bum's law firm sues you. The bum wins $5.7 million against you, and they take your house away from you. Tell me what you would do. And now you understand why the lines are blurred in America. It's because, unfortunately, today, the line between criminals and lawyers has so been blurred that we don't know which is which and who is who. One uses a computer and the other one uses a gun. But at the end of the day, everybody gets done. You understand what I'm saying? And so we're living in a lawless nation in many ways. And then the nation is falling apart and collapsing. It didn't start with Obama. It's not going to end with Trump. Let me put it to you that way. We're moving closer and closer and closer to a Bolshevik revolution in the United States of America. I can tell you right now, whether you want to believe it or not, I don't believe the government is strong enough to prevent the revolution that is emerging. They have stolen the truth. They have stolen the universities. They've stolen the church. They've stolen the family. They've stolen our dignity. They've stolen our honor. What's next? What is next? The Tsar had power and no laws. The communists had laws and no power. Where are we today? Think about it. I'll be right back. Wait, on the Savage Nation. But before I come back, I am going to do this right now because I was reading about Beets the other day. I know it's an advertiser, but I got interested in the product of Beets. And Beets are a very great health food. I know that. They're good for a lot of different things, and I can't make health claims. But the fact of the matter is, everyone knows beets are a health food. Since Roman times, ancient times, everyone knows that beets are a health food. So I found a company that takes beets grown to very, very specific standards and then concentrates them into superfood crystals. And, okay, it's a product called Super Beets, right? And what do you take it for? Energy, stamina, circulation, nutrients that go to your brain and body, helps you exercise longer, do more everyday activities. And so I say to you, drink Super Beets because it promotes the body's own natural ability to produce healthier circulation. And it is made from beets grown to exacting standards, then concentrated into superfood crystals. I can't stand the taste of beets, for example. That's why the product works. You don't have to eat the stuff. So if you want to improve your circulation, you call 800-481-0504 or go to SavageLovesBeets.com, and with your first order, you're going to get a free 30-day supply with it and indicator strips, which will show you just how Super Beets works to increase your nitric oxide levels. It's a real thing. And free shipping. So call 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeets.com and eat your borscht.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Hey, let me ask you something. We're going to get back to the sugar thing in a minute, but why would God care about politics? How does America fit into God's plan? How did God help build and raise up America? How has turning away from God led to a national decline? You see, you thought the God book was only about fuddy-duddy religious stuff. You're 100% wrong. It's all in God, faith, and reason, which you can buy on BarnesandNoble.com right now. Now let's go back to something that the Bible wrote about, which is prostitution. WABC, Mike, you were a what?
Hey,
Mike.
Savage. I'm 28 years old. I went to school in South Jersey. Things didn't work out for me there. I kind of got in with the wrong crowd. I went through a real bad breakup. I'm originally from North Jersey. I was kicked out of school and never really wanted to go home and could never face the music, so I started working down in Atlantic City. I had a couple friends down there. I could spend nights on their couches here and there, but I worked at a popular bar down there, and every weekend I would always happen to meet a bachelorette party, women there on trips, things like that, and I would end up spending the weekend with them. We would have fun. It would be for the weekend, and, you'd never see them again, but it would be, at the end of the day, it was an empty feeling trying to...
Wait, you would work the girl parties as a paid escort? Is that what you're saying?
No. I worked security in a casino where it was a very popular place.
Yeah, but wait, the board says you were a male sugar baby. Is that true?
Yeah, I would call myself that. I would work at night, and I'd work a couple days a week, and when these women were down there, I would spend the duration of their trips down there with them. They'd take me out to dinner. I'd spend weekends in lavish hotel rooms.
But wait, so they didn't actually pay you money. It was sort of a soft prostitution.
Yes. Yeah, there was never...
Well, they never gave you a couple of $100 when you went home?
No, I never went home, actually. That was
So in other words, when you hung out in their hotel rooms, that was your home.
Yeah, exactly.
And today, what? You're a nuclear physicist at the Lawrence Livermore Laboratory with 6 children?
No, I'm happily married now to the girl that...
Oh, good. You see that? There you go. We have a wonderful story to tell on the show. That is a beautiful story. I'm telling you, it's a really great story. You actually told us a great story.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.